Hi, welcome back. So in this video I try to show you something more about the class, and we want to use method class, and we like to look at the graphic user interface. Okay, we call GUI. Okay, using Java to handle this too. Alright, so now let's look at the project. I'm going to create a new project, and I'm going to name this project as GUI demo. So there's a basic GUI, okay, that we need to know. We create a class as usual, include the main, or if you want to create driver class separately, that's fine too. So I'm going to separate them, and I'm going to name method, which is, let's say, a calculator, then calculator GUI, which is going to use method class too. Alright, so this is just like your class that you create as usual. Now we're going to create a constructor. Right, constructor just a method that have the same name as your class name. Okay, so now our constructor, like we used to know, we use constructor to initialize, right, the attributes or the class variables, or we call instance variables. Alright, but this time we want to deal with more classes like JFrame, JPanel. Okay, let me start to name them like JFrame and JPanel, like JTextField, right, and JButton, something like this, and JLabel. Alright, so what is this? Frame pretty much just a Windows frame, okay, that we see here. Like, I minimize that. Okay, so put it back, maximize it. So this is a frame. Inside the frame you may have panel. Those are the gray part. We have several panels in different sections. See, in the windows here. So we use panel to separate, right, sections in the frame. Now JTextField. JTextField is just like this, the quick access, like something that you can type in, like this is JTextField. So pretty much just text field. Now we also have JButton, a button. So okay, so we type. So when I type that, this happened to suggest something for me. But let me delete it. So that's a text field for user input, right? JButton. So a button that user can click, right? Like OK, cancel button, like you have used to do on the option pane. JLabel. Okay, so JLabel is a like text. You may see other text like debug, Java. Those are labels, right? All right. So now, how do we use them? Let me just create a simple. Okay, simple. You remember when you use a class, you instantiate a class. So JFrame frame equals to new, which before we do anything, we like to create a private, right, JFrame. Remember when we dealing with car, like we learn class, we create a car has attributes like color. So this is just like the same. The attributes can be like we say string, color, right, int, number of windows for room, something like that. This is the same. These are the attributes or the class, right, variables or instant variables, right? So these are instant variables. So it can be a type as a class too. This is another class named JFrame. Okay, instead of the primitive data type int string that we used to see. So I'm going to name it frame. Okay. Now since this is a class, you just probably need to import. You can type that to javax.swing.jframe. Just like scanner, right? Alright, so now if you want to use this, you pretty much just need to do the same, instantiate it, right? Because this is a class, so you just need to instantiate a class like normal when you do in your driver. When after you create car, or in your scanner, when you use scanner, you have to do scanner equals to new scanner, right? We call instantiations. So now when we instantiate it, since this is a class just like scanner that you didn't create your own, right? It's from the library. It's from the system library here. So you very much have an access to a method. So you just do dot, right? And we just want to set it visible. By default, it's just being hidden. So we make it to true. So this is a setters, right? A class JFrame has the attributes visible, and we can set it to set visible. Okay, but again, this is being created from Java library here. You didn't create your own. Okay, but they have the same concept that we have learned. Now we make a frame visible. Alright, so let me just try to see if I run this. We can see the frame or not. But we cannot run this yet until I create a driver, right? A driver class. Okay, this driver class could have a main. I will name it driver and check the main in. Alright, so let me just drag this to different screens that you can see both sides. Alright, so now let's instantiate it. New calculator GUI. Alright, so let's run this. Voila, we get a frame. Okay. Now next things we just need to set a size. So that's very simple, right? Just create a JFrame, just like the way you do with the class variables, which now instead of string or int, you just use JFrame. And inside the constructor, this is the place for initialize, right? So give the value of JFrame to show as visible. What we try to do, because frame is instantiated, has an access to method set visible. Alright, now let's see if I want to set size. We just provide width and height, right? Like 300 pixels by 400 pixels. Okay, so let's run again. We have to run from the drivers, which is the main. There you go. So that's a frame. You can maximize, you can minimize and collapsed. Okay, because it's just a frame. Alright, so that's how easy it is to create the GUI. Now let me show you. Now after we have a frame, we like to put a panel onto the top of the frame. So let me show you a panel. JPanel, new panel. So let's import JPanel. Type this time JPanel. Okay. So now next, let me show you how to use JPanel. Now, before we move on to JPanel, one thing that we like to do is another method says set default close operation. Okay, so this is pretty much just take an integer as the argument. So these are our method, we understand them. So this integer, pretty much if you put 0, it's going to do the close, which they have a constant, which is the JFrame dot exit on close, which is a integer type. Okay, to make it exit. Okay. So what it does is just like when you hit the clause X like that, close is exit the program. So that's one thing that we like to do. Again, when you use frame, we like to instantiate it and set visible, set the size, and then set default close operation. So that's it for the frame. Now I'm going to top up panel. So panel, same, you just need to instantiate it first because this is the instance variables. We need to create it, and this is going to be JPanel. If you don't create it, sometimes you will forget. You probably will get this null pointer exceptions. That's very common. So make sure you verify you have created. Okay. Now panel dot. So the panel, let me set the background color. Okay, you can just go to color class. Color class like matte class has this attributes that you can set right here. Okay, color.blue. So now let me add, like I said, frame is the parent, and you see that panel like that, those are blue panel that being add, that's light blue, right? So that's how you add, right? Panel add to the top of the frame, right? You pass the panel into the method add of the frame. So let's see what we get. Okay, we're supposed to get the panel to show. Okay, let's rerun again. There you go. So it's blue now. That's the panel on the top of the frame. And this we know is the frame that minimize, maximize, and close exit on operation here. Alright, so now that's how we use panel and add the panel to the frame. So again, the components, like these are components, JTextField, JButton, JLabel. So these are the things that we going to add them, and we're going to add them on the top of the panel. Like you see that this panel has a lot of things like TextField on that panel. Same, that means panel we're going to have to add just like the same way as with an add, but it's going to be panel.add. Add what? Add the JTextField or JLabel. So let me start to show you with the JLabel first. Alright, so same, create the instant variables, say name JLabel, okay, name label, course we need to import it by, you can type it to and name JLabel. Okay, I can start to import them all. As we can see, JTextField too. Right, whenever you use, you just need to import them. And JButton. Okay, so let me show you again. So how to use label. Alright, so we're just going to do the instantiation again every time, right? Import, create instant variables, and then instantiate it. So there's a step for each, right? For each object. Now we gotta say label. You can set the text, right? Set text, right? So let's say score, but I'm going to do calculator, so I'm going to say enter, right? Enter. Alright, so that's text. Now, of course, you need to add this to panel, like I said, right? Label is going to be on the top of panel. So panel.add to label. Alright, so we have the label ready. Now, after we have label, we need to do JTextField. Alright, so let's say JPrivate, right? JTextField. Okay, so that's going to be text field. So same thing. So I'm going to say text field equals to new JTextField. Right. And then you can set your text field to text field dot set text. Now text field is going to be an empty input like that. You can set the default text like that, quick access or something like that. Or if you don't want to set anything, you can just don't have to set anything. Okay, just create it and add it to the panel. So I add the, now this is going to be a sequence like flow. If I add label first, label going to go first to the left, and then I'm going to add text field. So the text field is going to go to the right next to label, and then I'm going to do the buttons. So let's create a button. JButton. So after we have the button, we can add the button. So instantiate the button first. Okay. Panel add button. Alright. So now let's run this and see what we get. Calculator, GUI, frame, create panel, add the items to panel, right, label, text field, button, and then add panel to the frame. Now if you want to set the title of a frame, you can set it to the constructor. Okay, let me name calculator. Right there. Okay. So we see this is text, right? Text label coming from label empty number, and this is the text field, right? Which I should set the size. I can set the size to 20, and the buttons I can just say set the text like calculate, right? So now if I cannot see, it's clear because the background is blue, so let me do something like the green. Okay, and I can actually set the text color to the label color, set 4, we call set foreground, right? Like I said, these are all like set and getters concept. So foreground color is part of the attributes of the label JLabel class. I can set it to service green. I can do white. Let's see if it's gonna work. I have to adjusting a little bit. Alright, so we don't need to have that big. Okay, so the height can be smaller. Alright, so let me just turn it to, by default it's just a black color. So let me just do that. Since we change the background to green, it should be better. Okay. Seems like my computer, I have to adjusting it this, you know, to make it update. Alright, so we can enter something, hit calculate, right? But now I can enter and run. Okay, so that's how you create a GUI. So now let me create another field, okay, like due to JTextFields. So I'm going to name the text field 1 and do another one named text field 2. Okay, so I have 2 JTextField and instantiate twice, and of course need to add twice too, right? 1 and 2. Okay. Now the sizes is too big, so let me just do maybe 5 and 5. So let's see what we get. Okay. Alright, like that. So I can put in 2 numbers and hit calculate, and it should do the calculation for me. Okay, so now I'm going to add another JTextField and JLabel. Okay, for the display output, right? So let's do another, maybe just another label, okay, like output label. So I'm going to just need to create it again, instantiate it first, label equals to new JLabel. text. So this going to be, for now we don't have the answer. I set something like a placeholder by default. Okay. So now if for calculate, I can just change it to plus, right? Or let's say we're going to do square root because I want to talk about that, right? Fine. If it's square root is going to be just one number, so let's do power. Okay. Fine. Power of the first. Okay. Just say 5 power. And let me add the, we have to do label since I say output, right? So this output. So let me add this to the button. Let's say this is like flow and layout. Location you add is going to be in order. Okay, at the end like that. So if I adjust the size, it's going to be at the bottom. So that means increasing this a little bit and reduce the width a little bit. Okay. 2 to the power of 2, right? Something like that. When I hit 5 power, I should give you the answer here. Alright, so I think it's actually called exponent, right? Or we can do find product if you want to, right? So when you multiply two numbers, we get the answer. Now, how would I make the buttons, okay, has an action? So to create GUI, this is the step. But to make the button listen to the action, so that's a step that you need to create. Is called add the events to the buttons. Okay. Alright, if you have a textbook, you can review this on page 448. Okay, so 448 and 449. Okay, and 450, 51, 52, 53. So pretty much in that 54, 55. So between 449 to 455. It's going to show you again. But now I'm going to show you how to do this. Okay. So pretty much I like to create or add the methods. Okay, we call the method again add ActionListener to this. Okay, so what this is, when I said this operators, we know we used that before. This reference to the class itself, which is calculated GUI. Okay, So that means when I have the GUI, when I click something, okay, it's going to listen to this class, and this class is going to need to have a method, okay, and the method that we need, it's going to call this method by default that I'm going to create. That what it is. Like, we have just one constructor now, we need to create the method to make it listen to, and this method always, okay, has to name action perform it, okay, and with the parameters action event, okay. So now at this point, I'd like you to just like the first day you learn Hello World program, public static void main, same, this is public void action performed it, okay, and action event E, just like the first day you learn, you just bear with it, okay. This is just the same. When you hit the buttons, add action listener to this and create a method for that, and to the class here you just need to type implements, okay, implements action listener, okay. So of course you need to import this action listener, okay, and also action event, you need to import it, okay. So there's things that you need to do. Now that's it. This is where you can actually make the buttons to do actions in here, because you said add action listener to this means this action performed it, right? Because this reference to the class that implements action listener, that's going to have this method for you, okay. So once again, to make the buttons listen to action, add the method buttons, right, dot add action listener this, okay. And then like I said, this you need to write the methods exactly like this, public void action perform it, and parameters in parentheses with parameter action event E. It's very important to write exact like this, otherwise your program will not work. And make sure you add implements action listener to the class, okay, and import them, action event and action listener. Now we're ready to make a program listen to the action, okay. So the action that we want, like for example, if I do system.out.print line, right, you say the sum of the two numbers, which I have the number which is my text field 1. When the user enter, is going to be my text field 1. So I can just do that get text, right? Now if I do add, the text is going to concatenate for sure, right? For now I'm going to just do add, right, get text, okay. It's just to show, and just do system.out is going to print now at the console at the bottom here. Alright, so if I say 1 1, okay, let's see, there's some error here a little bit. Text field 1 dot get text, right? Okay, so it works now. Because I tried to run from this, I can't. I have to run from the driver. Okay, so system.out.print line, like you see, it just had output right there. Now what I need to do is same, right? I'm going to comment this out, and I have the output, so I just say output.set text, right, to the product of two numbers. So text field 1 get text, right? That's a text. Of course I need to convert this text, right? And we learn how to convert that, right? Int, right, num1 equals to int. If I want to deal with double, I can just do double. Then we can start to create, right? To be able to calculate double dot parse double. Convert your text field 1, which is the string, right, to num1 number. So the same. Convert num2, right, text field 2 to number. And after you get the numbers, so pretty much just do the product, right, and set back num1 times num2. Okay, so and then set the output, right, dot set text back. So this is our output, right, set text. See, it doesn't really, let me just say double product equals to num1 times num2, and of course we need to do output, right, dot set text, and it's looking for string. That's why I need to change product to string, which is string dot right, value of. So the value of method is going to convert like double to string, that one, right, which pass in the product. Okay, now that's how we do it. So let's run the program. Let's test it. Voila, so we get the answer. Okay, so we just created simple calculators. Alright, so again, let's review. Alright, so this is just a JFrame, right? Create a frame, JPanel, put the label, right? Put the text field and the button in. Of course, these are just instance variables. Then you need to instantiate or initialize them in the constructors, right? Since these are the class type, right? So like instead of primitive data type like int, double, string, we just use class, another class type. We just need to pretty much just instantiate them like class and get to the methods like set and getters. Since they're class, like we used to learn from the previous, right, class exercise, when you do car, you do set and getters, panel, set background, label, set text, right, and field, right, and now we add them, right, add action listener to the button, and add other components, right, to the panel, and panel to the frame. That's why we see them all together. Now add action listener is to make button be able to listen to the user click. Like I said, this just listen to this action, perform that. So just make sure you create this method, okay? And inside the method you can just implement anything that you want the button to do when you click. Like we want to very much just get the text from the user input, right, from text field 1, text field 2, convert into two double numbers, multiply them as product, and set it back to the output text. which is string.value of product, convert double to string. This is convert to string to double. And for action performed, that you just need to make sure it implements ActionListener. Don't forget that, and import this to ActionListener, and that would do. Alright, so thank you for watching, and I hope if you have questions, please let me know.